folks on this call are extreme agents, so y'all know who I am. But I did open this up to a few friends and agents from other companies to go ahead and participate. If you're on the call, then you are most welcome. If at all during this presentation you feel compelled to want to join Extreme or become part of the movement, let it flow. Don't be afraid. Let it go. We are always, always looking out for talent and looking to grow and expand. And some people will say, Tony, are you using this as a potential recruiting tool? Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's the 3 R's, right? It's always about recruiting talent, retaining the talent that we have now, and rewarding those that are doing a great job. So I think that most of the people that are on are in right now. Let me go ahead and change the setup here so I can see. Okay, what's going on? All right, folks. So 10 steps to save or grow your business during this incredible challenge or crisis that we're having right now. So what has essentially happened is that the huge universal reset button has been hit. This is something that no one could have expected. The impact is amazing. I mean, guys, I remember maybe almost 2 weeks ago, I'm home, I'm sitting in front of my TV, and next thing you know, I'm hearing that the NBA is canceling their whole season. And that's when I knew, uh-oh, this is going to get bad. This is going to be unprecedented when you see a situation like that. We have seen um, a lot of hardship that's going on right now, and I don't have answers for any of that kind of stuff. I'm not here to reach out to you as an economist, okay? I don't have that qualification. Now, have I been glued to the TV set and not always Netflix? I've been glued to the news, getting as many, and that was not directed at anyone in particular. They know who I'm talking about. You know, uh, I've been watching the news, and you see the different opinions that are coming on, and it gets overwhelming because sometimes they ask two people and they come up with three different opinions, and you're like, well, which one is it, man? Is it over? Is it going to get better? What's going on? So I'm going to share with you my personal perspective about what I see happening in the very, very near term. But I'm not here to blow smoke. I'm not here necessarily to evangelize or to raise spirits and all that, because there's a lot of factors that are going on right now that are leading people to be in emotional states and mental states that are unique to them and maybe consistent across the board. But what I am here to do is to go ahead and say, you know what, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a freight train. All right. This will pass. Now, the question is, it's not whether things are going to get better or not. I 100% believe that they're going to get better. It's when and if you still will be in this business by the time it does. And we're going to get very, very real in terms of our discussion here, because you're my peeps, you're my family, you don't deserve any less. But the fact that I'm here right now doing this should give you an indication that I haven't thrown in the towel. We're not giving up. In fact, I'm a big believer that in the midst of chaos, there is opportunity. Extreme will grow exponentially because of what's going on. Because I know my competition. I know what I'm up against. I know how other brokers either don't lead or lead from behind, which you cannot do. And those are not going to be around, and their agents are not going to wait it out. But as part of being real, let me tell you something. If you are a hobbyist, if you enter this business or you work this business as a hobby, well, number one, you're not impacted by any of this going on. because except if it's pertaining to your real job. But whether real estate goes up or down or whatever, it doesn't matter to you. It shouldn't matter to you because your whole goal is to get an occasional deal or two throughout the year, if that, and you consider that to be okay with you. And God bless you. If that's what you set out to do and that's what you're doing, then you are accomplishing your goals and we're right there with you. I've always said, be true to yourself. Not everyone is meant to light the world on fire in this business. Not everybody is meant to be a mega producer. If you know what you want and you're hitting it, then you're done, you're good. I'm talking to the ones that this is how you pay your bills. This is how you sup- put food on the table. This is how you are expecting to build a retirement and a business to go forward. And that's most, if not all of you on the call right now. So chances are you're either a little concerned or you're terrified, right? Because it should be one of the two, because there should be some concern. And some of you have taken it to the point where you are freaking out. You're freaking out. And you know what? It's affecting every aspect of your life right there. So, one of my goals is to try to put this into some kind of context in terms of what you can do. Because one of the things that I've learned is that one of the most terrifying things for a human being is to not have control. And I think a lot of you agree. Would you agree with that, Alfredo? Because I don't see everybody's picture on the screen right now, but I see yours. You nod your head, you agree, right? We feel the most vulnerable, the most terrified when things are spinning out of control and you feel like nothing you can do. And that's what's going on right now with everything that we're seeing here. You don't know what's going to happen, and you feel helpless. And that's a terrible feeling to have. So what I'm trying to do is give you some things, 10 things that you can take 100% control over so that you can move forward. And that's where you can put your focus. Because I'm a big believer that what you focus on expands. So if you're focusing right now on fear, then there is no limit to the amount of fear you're feeling in your life right now. If you believe that it's hopeless, guess what? It is hopeless. And everything that comes your way will just reinforce your belief that it's hopeless. So this is what we're going to do, is to move forward. Here are my predictions, Nostratoni. Okay, this is what I see that's going to happen. Number one, it's going to get bad, very bad, especially in the second quarter. No doubt about it whatsoever. Folks, we just had 3.3 million people file for unemployment last week. Do you understand that number? 3.3 million people. That's more people that went on unemployment in 1 week than the amount total that were added in the last 12 months, to try to put it in perspective. This is unprecedented, with the exception of maybe the Great Depression or even maybe possibly the Great Recession. It is bad. We are going to have a negative quarter in this first quarter. We are no doubt going to have a negative second quarter. What do you get when you have two negative quarters, two consecutive negative quarters when it comes to your gross domestic product, GDP? It is called a what? Yes, a recession. Thank you so much, Lisette. And you know what? It is going to be deep. That is the consensus. The consensus is it's going to hit hard and it's going to hit deep. So, folks, you have got to gird yourself right now, because this is real. It's more real than anything that we've been hit with. So now is the time to realize that once you accept that, then anything that falls short of that is a blessing. But does not sugarcoat the situation. We're in uncharted territory. Yes, am I optimistic that the rescue bill is going to be signed? Absolutely, I'm optimistic. Is it going to help? Yes. Is it enough? Probably not. Everything hinges on when we can get back to work, when the economy can get back to work. If we can get back to work in 2 weeks, then it's going to be lessened. If it's 2 months, I don't even know what to think. If it's going to take 2 months. So that's what we're up against. Next, a lot of agents, a lot, are going to exit the business. We are going to see the ultimate purge. We're going to see thousands upon thousands of real estate agents exit the business. All right, whether they check out emotionally, physically, it's it. I have no idea when the next board dues come up. I don't know if the boards are going to do something to help the members out or not. I don't know. But I can tell you right now that a lot of folks are going to hang it up and it's over for them. Now, to compound that, a lot of real estate companies are going to shut their doors because the market that we've had, and you know what's been going on, right? The real estate schools have been flush with students. And every single week and month, they're cranking out a number of between 3,500 and 4,000 new agents entering the business. Well, that's over. And the folks that are barely hanging in there, they're not going to hang in there. Companies right now, and I track sales every single day. It's an OCD thing for me. I am constantly comparing our sales against our competitors. And there are offices out there that barely have any transactions whatsoever already 3 months into the year. If they have physical overhead, they're going to be closing down. That's just a sad reality of this. Now, that's the bad part. Here's where it starts to turn the corner. Everything I have heard indicates that the recovery will begin in the third quarter. This is why it's so important for us to be planting and cultivating right now. One term that I liked is we're going to have a V-shaped recession, meaning it went from up here to down here very, very quick, but we're not going to stay down here very long. We're going to burst right back up again, so it'll be in the shape of a V. That is what we're praying for. All right, so look to no sooner than the third quarter for things to start coming around, which means you have to stay in the game for 3+ months. You got to stay in the game for 3+ months. Interest rates are going to continue to remain low. That is the good news. All indicators are that we're going to see and continue to see amazingly low rates, which is going to do something. And that is, it's going to do the pent-up demand. So let me give you an example, and this was an example that was shared with me by Sean Kokoska, who is the gentleman that created SOAR and Accelerated Breakthrough, and I'm one of his coaches. And he said, Tony, imagine a water bottle. Take your water bottle and you open it up and you turn it upside down, and it's flowing, man. It's flowing. That's the market that we've had right now, up until now. Up until 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. Now put your finger over the opening where most of it is covered and just a little bit is trickling out. That is the market that we're in right now, because we're going to see listings and sales slow to a crawl. Then he said, what is happening with the water that's in the bottle? It's still there. It's just pent up. It can't go anywhere. What happens when you release your thumb again? In fact, don't just release your thumb, squeeze the bottle with all you got. Is the water just going to trickle out, or is it just going to burst out? That is what's going to happen with our market, because the economists have said, and they're all in agreement, it is different when you're entering a recession with a sick economy leading into a recession. We had an amazing economy. This was just thrown at us. All of those fundamentals are still there. All the fundamentals that led to that was still there. The demand for real estate in our market is still there. We're not building enough. We don't have enough housing according to economists, to handle the demand that we have now. We have tremendous job growth and everything else. Those jobs will come back. Yes, the market will flush out certain people. Sadly, there'll be companies that exit, but whatever restaurant vacates a space in a plaza will be replaced by another restaurant in a few months because life will continue. Your goal, if you should accept it, Mr. and Mrs. Phelps, is you got to decide, am I going to be in the game when the demand bursts again? So here's your mission. Now you're in cultivation mode. Okay, if you cultivate the right way, that'll give you the opportunity to then dominate your market, because that's what we're doing on a company level. We're working when the other ones are sitting home doing nothing. We're hiring agents when the other ones have ceased to do any of this stuff. We're evolving when others have maybe thrown in the towel. Let me pause right now for any questions that you may have. If you have a question, just go ahead and mute yourself and speak up. Going once.
Hey, Tony, real quick, you said that there's a difference when you're entering the recession into, you know, I believe your words were with a sick economy.
Yeah.
What, can you briefly just touch base on what the difference is?
Yeah, think about it this way. What if we weren't necessarily having negative growth, but we were hardly having any growth at all? We were having robust growth. We were having incredible growth. We were hiring the week just before all this happened, 273,000 new jobs were created. So we were entering with a super strong stock market, people working, people making more money. So all those things were in place, and all of a sudden, a variable that no one could anticipate enters into the equation. It wasn't like the economy was slowing down, getting worse, barely growing, having one down quarter, one up quarter. There was no going back and forth. This just happened. And that's what I meant. We entered this with a very, very strong economy, and those fundamentals are still there.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. All right. Here are the 10 steps. Let's just start going through this, and I'm going to get rid of that. Number one, okay, you got to reduce expenses, and you got to reduce expenses now. You have got to cut your overhead to the bone. Now is not the time to play around. Now is not the time to experiment. Now is not the time to throw things against the wall and see if they stick. Here's what you need to do. You need to write down everything you spend money on right now, both business and personal. And as you look at this, you say, are these essential expenses or are these discretionary expenses that we're doing? Now, of course, my goodness, you know, what did I hear yesterday from a great economist saying that the average millennial right now spends about $300 a month in alcohol and the same amount every month in coffee? Okay, so maybe they're spending less on coffee because they're at home, but they're probably spending more on alcohol because they are at home. You know, so the reality is, where are you spending your money? Let me tell you what we've been doing as a company. The minute this happened, we mobilized and we looked at every single one of our expenses. And I'm not going to go into details as to what they are, but we approached our vendors and we said, hey guys, we need you to help us. We need you to work with us. Because if you can't either reduce the amount we're paying you every week or every month right now, or if you can't defer it altogether, we got to cancel your service. And that's the last thing I want. They responded like this. They want to keep us. They know that the industry is going to hurt for a while. So we've been able to slash our expenses immediately, and that's real money. If you save $300 a month, you know, how much did you have to sell to net $300 to save? That's real money savings. Now, I'm not a proponent of immediately cutting my marketing budget. I'm going to talk about that last. because I believe that's the first thing companies do. The first thing companies do and individuals, the first thing they do is they slash their marketing. I believe that you have to be smart about your marketing. I believe you have to evaluate where your money's going and are you seeing a return for your investment. But don't just across the board say, I'm not marketing, I'm not prospecting, I'm not doing anything. But then you're doing what the competition is going to do. When they pull back, that's when you have to go forward. And if you're going to spend money in one area, maybe the way to do it is, hey, look, I've hardly spent any money on marketing right now. Well, maybe now's the time to start. Well, where do I get the money? What can you cancel? What can you cancel on the right over here that you can move that money over to the left? And all of a sudden, you're spending money on marketing during a time when your competition isn't, which can give you an amazing, amazing advantage over them. So no sacred cows. You can't look at something that you're spending money on and say, oh, no, 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 no. We can never, ever touch that. Okay. Everything needs to be evaluated on a cost return basis and start slashing. Start slashing as individuals, as business people, as a family. Number two, go digital when? Now. You know the people that are going to be leaving this business in the next 3 to 4 weeks? The dinosaurs. I'm sorry, you cannot be a dinosaur in this business right now. You have to have Zoom. Everybody has to have Zoom. You know, it's a free account for crying out loud. Go get Zoom because this is how you're going to do interviews. This is how you're going to do listing presentations. This is how you're going to do buyer consultations. This is how you're going to prospect. This is how you're going to learn. Now, digital signatures. My goodness, God forbid you're still doing your contracts by hand. But if you're using Form Simplicity and you haven't added the electronic signature, go get it now. What is it, 69 bucks a year or something like that? You cannot do old school. Nobody wants to leave their house right now. Maybe they're not even allowed to leave their house right now. You have to make it as easy as possible for them to sign that agreement. So go digital on your signatures. Now's a great time, if you haven't stepped up, step up to Dotloop. You know, Dotloop has the app, and the top producers in our company do almost all of their transactions through their app. They're doing it through their device. They don't have to get in front of a computer. They're always there with it. Now, what we did is we worked out an amazing opportunity. Thanks, Maria. Yes, Dotloop is great. So you guys that are out there paying, you know, and the regular public pays $30 a month for Dotloop. We scored a group deal where we stepped up and then you pay us and we got that cut in half. So extreme members, you get the premier Dotloop program for only $15 a month. So if you haven't signed up for that, sign up now by reaching out to Nuri, and she can collect the information from you so we can get you started and you can start playing with it before you need it. What else do you need to do? If you're an extreme agent, you know you have an incredible mobile search app. You need to be sharing this with everybody, because if you have prospects right now and they're interested in buying a home, you know what? Help them continue to maintain the interest in buying a home by making sure that they have downloaded your personal mobile search app and that they can go ahead and see the entire inventory. In fact, we have inventory all the way up to northern Florida. So this is an amazing tool that you may not be using right now. Listings Unlimited, the ability that you go in and you can create an individual website for every single one of your listings. You got to go digital with your marketing on your properties now. So that's a free service we pay for so you can have it. Use it. Next week, extreme people, I'm going to have on Thursday a webinar with a 3D virtual tour company, because you have got to do a virtual tour, the 3D kind, on every single one of your listings going forward if you want to have a chance to sell it. If it wasn't a great idea to begin with, it absolutely is a great idea now. Next, go to every single one of your current transactions, all right? Whether it's 1 or 10, You got to have conversations. You just can't be hoping and praying that everything is okay. You got to get on the phone with your buyer or your seller. How you doing? Crazy times we live in right now, right? But this too shall pass. Are your buyers still engaged? Is the seller still engaged? Have you spoken to the other side? Have you talked to the other agent and say, look, I've talked to my people. Everything is still a go on my end. Please tell me you've done the same. If you're the buyer side, have you talked to the lender? Are they still lending? And even if you're representing the seller, have you talked to the lender? Are they still lending? You don't want surprises? We got people right now that are trying to get out of their transactions because of the virus. That's not good enough. So you have to know where you stand legally by understanding legally. And that's why the call we had yesterday was so timely with our attorney. But don't leave anything to chance. Be talking and speaking. And if extensions are needed, get them. Get them. If you got a motivated buyer and a motivated seller, there should not be an issue in keeping the players in the game. Now, you have to connect with your base. Your base is your sphere of influence, your database of past customers, your database of current prospects, your social media group. You got to connect with them in a positive way. Now, here's what I mean. Right. You must control all aspects of the transaction. Completely agree with you, Rosie. You know what? I've seen a lot of you go on Facebook. And last time I checked, you're not an economist. You're definitely not a medical professional. You're not any these things, but that's what you're consumed with your posts. And I look at these posts and I say, how is this post going to help this agent of mine increase their business or their influence? And most of them do not. Now is the time for you to connect with people that may be significantly frightened. Maybe they're older. They can't leave their house. They won't leave their homes. What a blessing that you reach out to them and say, well, what do you need? I'll go get it for you. I'll drop it off at the front. My goodness, people, this is where we show our colors. This is where we show our true forms. You know, we don't hide from this. We grow from this. And we will reap tremendous benefit in the future by how we act now and how we proactively reach out to our folks. Number 5, now is the time for training, learning, and planning. Look, guys, you know you can't pull anything past me. You know what I hear all the time? Oh, I'm too busy. I can't understand how to use this. I don't know how to do this. Well, now you got the time, baby. You got the time to learn every single program and resource that we offer. No excuses. You know what one of the biggest crimes against humanity is going to be? That you exit this crisis not being any more familiar with the tools that you have at that time than you did at the beginning of it. Can you just imagine that? Whether this last 2 weeks or 2 months, you didn't invest the time to get into Matrix, to get into Form Simplicity, to learn RPR, to know how to do CMAs, to understand what we have available to you in paperless pipeline. For those of you that are taking accelerated breakthrough with me right now, now's your time to get caught up, baby. Now's your time to move ahead. Those of you that took SOAR with me and the stuff is gathering dust somewhere, now's the time to pull it off the shelf, dust it off, and start using it. Now's the time to start planning, strategizing, putting together your team. Because again, we're using this time to cultivate and plan so that we can dominate going forward. No excuses to not exit this crisis more learned, more prepared, more everything when it comes to growing and building our businesses. All right, that's half of the 10. I'll stop for any questions you may have.
Tony, I have a question regarding investing, continue investing on Zillow. I
Uh-huh.
know, and I believe, like you say, like the third quarter is gonna come back strong. But in the meantime, shouldn't be a good idea just to put a pause because I haven't received any call in the last 2 weeks from Zillow. What do you recommend on that end?
Well, I mean, you know what? It's a tricky situation. I would call Zillow if they haven't reached out to you already and get a discount from them, because I've heard that they have reached out to people and are offering a significant discount to keep them in the game.
They offer 50% off the next bill
Okay.
cycle.
Thank you, Ronnie. You shared that as well. Well, listen, that's a good start. If you got half of that being covered or reduced, and you got a lender taking care of half of that, you're only responsible for 25%. Now, if you are not getting any leads at all, again, this is a long-term deal. If everybody backs out of Zillow at the same time, whoever's left in Zillow, it's all theirs, man. That's a beautiful thing. I could imagine that there are a lot of Zillow spending agents right now that are hoping and praying that everybody decides to put their accounts on hold because they're going to get everybody.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I have thank God I have PRNG paying half of it. And before this crisis, yeah, I was getting a lot of leads from Zillow. So
Yeah, I wouldn't give up yet, man. You got to hang in there just a little bit longer.
I will.
Okay, all right, but great question. Anybody else? All right, number 6, work rentals. Gee, Tony, I never thought of that. Of course you thought of that, but look, here's what happens, okay? Real estate agents tend to go through a process of evolution. You come into the business, and we all work rentals because they're a quick source of income. You have to be a top producer to get into it. Tenants are typically not that discriminating that they're going to ask you for your resume to decide to work with you or not. And then what typically happens is as your business grows, we tend to say, well, I don't want to work rentals. I don't want to do rentals right now. Look, people are not going to list their homes right now. A lot of people are not going to list their homes right now. A lot of people are not going to make an offer on a property or go under contract right now. Now, did I say no one is going to list their home? I didn't say that. Did I say no one is going to make an offer or go under contract? I didn't say that. But I said a lot of them will not. That is just a reality, right? But guess what? People still need to live. People still need to live in a home. They still need shelter. And look, if somebody was thinking about buying, maybe they're going to put those thoughts on hold right now and rent initially. So work rentals for all you have. Here's what we're doing as a company. We are revamping our rental division. We're coming out with rental division, Extreme Rentals 2.0. We are going to only have the best and brightest and the best closers involved in that because we're going to spend more on generating more rental leads. And those leads are going to be distributed to a smaller group of agents. What we try to do in the past is try to make a lot of people happy. You can't do that. You got to go ahead and keep it to a small group and give them 2, 3, 4, 5 leads per day until they scream no more, no más, no más, and then you can add people. If someone isn't performing, you don't give them leads. Now is not the time to be nice. Now is not the time to be fair. Now is the time to be businesslike in everything that we do. So you have to individually promote yourself very aggressively. Social media, Facebook Marketplace, all of these areas, you have to aggressively work the rentals because this can get you by. This can get you through the next couple of months. So I can't stress that enough. You have to do this. Number 7, short sales. Get ready. The sharks are already they're already circling. I've already been getting calls from agents saying, well, what do you think is going to happen? I go, well, let me put it this way. How many people do you think are going to end up losing everything? Okay. Yeah, Rosie, you put a sign on the corner yesterday. You still got 10 calls, need a place to live. Is this a rental? I'm pretty sure it's a rental, right? That you got the call on? Yes, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Rentals are gold. Rentals are gold. So especially reach out to owners and owners that are not from the area. Get as many rental listings as you can, because you'll get all of the leads that come from that. So now the stress, what would you recommend for a listing that just came on the market? Listen, if it's yours, Ronnie, and it just came on the market, listen, I think you basically, did you price it right? I would not pull it off. I would not take it off the market now at all. But if it's you have to have a really frank conversation with the sellers and say, listen, we're in uncharted territory right now. We may see a drop off in showings. In fact, it's pretty safe to say that we are experiencing a 30-40% drop off in showings. So I think more than anything, you got to get more aggressive on the marketing. If there was a time now to price it right, at or maybe just below market, now's the time. If there was ever a time to go ahead and offer a bonus to the other side to get the agent's attention, now's the time to do it. If you've never sent email flyers out to the general real estate market and you're just relying on the MLS only, now is the time to go ahead and do that. You really have to get hyper aggressive with the marketing of your properties right now. Okay, you know I do. Oh, without a doubt, you're one of the best out there. Short sales, guys, a lot of people are going to lose their homes. I'm sorry, but they're going to be folks that have lost their jobs. They're not going to make their payments. You got to understand, we live in a society that most people live hand to mouth. People are one missed paycheck away for not paying their mortgage or not making their rent payment. And here we are. We're in that situation now. So get ready for what's coming. Now, we're not going to see this immediately, even though Florida still ranks very high on the foreclosure list. And you know how I feel about short sales. For those of you that don't know, in 2008, I went to work for the CDPE, which turned out to be the best, most popular short sale training class ever created. Thanks, Rosie. Short sale guru. And I traveled the country for like 2.5 years. And that's all I did. I went from location to location, and I was blessed to teach almost 10,000 agents how to do short sales. So you guys have a broker that not only understands short sales, but actually encourages their agents to do it. Be ready. Be ready, because there are going to be a lot of foreclosures entering the market, and all of those individuals at least should be aware that a short sale is a more viable option to them than just letting the bank take their property. And so short sales are a niche, right? And it's a niche that you can choose to ignore or work. Choose to work it now. Just like working with military is a niche. Choose to work it, because the industry doesn't need any more general practitioners. We need more specialists. And of course, I'm going to be coming up with ways to support you in this area from a training perspective. In fact, we're actually launching our own foreclosure prevention division, where we're really going to get busy with our marketing, because nobody brings more to the table than we do. When you guys go into a situation that, even if you're clueless right now about what a short sale is, all you got to do is send them one of my podcasts and say, this is my broker and this is who I go to for advice. And you know that you're going to stand a more than average chance of getting that listing with the resume that we bring. Number 8, referrals. Now, I'm going to hit you with something, okay? Something agents don't do. They simply don't ask for referrals. You just don't ever end a conversation with, and by the way, who else do you know that might be thinking of renting or buying or investing right now? All right. And that should be the way you close every single conversation, because I'm taking on more customers now, because I'm taking on more customers now. But here's the thing. I know that most agents don't do this. Are you seeking referrals from other agents? Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Tony, yeah, I actively communicate with agents all across the country, asking or letting them know that if they ever have somebody in South Florida, send them my way. I get you. I know that. God bless you. I'm proud of you. But that's not what I meant. You should be doing that, but that's not what I meant. I meant there are agents in your own offices right now that will never do a single transaction. That is sad, but that is true. Yet that same agent that'll never do a single transaction in their life has opportunities to do transactions, but their brains are not wired to seize that opportunity. If you can reach out to enough agents that are hobbyists, enough agents that essentially have their licenses hung at a brokerage, and you go to them and say, hey, listen, I got a proposition for you. And that is, why don't you step up your game in terms of letting people know that you're a real estate agent, but that you have partnered with me, you have teamed up with me, you send me that lead. I'll hook you up for 20, 25% for doing nothing. Do you think you're going to get some people to say, tell me more? All day long. Because these folks are at jobs, they're around family, people are talking real estate, and because they're not really working it, or because they don't know, or because they don't feel confident, they don't speak up. They don't say anything. They don't say, well, by the way, I'm an agent. But if you say, listen, this is all you got to say, hey, I can help you with that. Not only do I have my license, but I've teamed up with a top producing agent so that they can take the very best care of my peeps. Why don't I get him to go ahead and call you? In fact, let me try calling him right now, get them on the phone with you right now. So imagine if you took this time, right, to start cultivating these relationships, and you go through 50 different agents, you email them, you call them and everything else. And of those 50 agents, maybe 5 or 6 or 10 say, this sounds like a no-brainer to me. Now you have all these people potentially feeding your funnel, acting as bird dogs for you. And what's the cost to you from a marketing perspective? Zero. Would you rather get 75% of something than 100% of nothing? That's the mindset right there. Number 9, multiple streams of income. You cannot be proud right now. You have to be diligent and you have to be hungry, because guess what? You are going to be hungry. You got to put food on the table. So don't be afraid to take on a part-time job. You got companies like Walmart and Amazon and Publix and all these guys that are hiring by the tens of thousands. If this is how you feed your family and stay in the game, it's not about being embarrassed. Are you kidding me? You have earned even more of my respect by doing whatever you need to do to stay in the game. Now, within the real estate world, without even leaving the real estate world, maybe you can start reaching out to some servicers, BPO companies, and see if maybe you can be added as a BPO agent. You know, a lot of agents are doing that, so it's kind of a long shot, but you know what? If you don't try, you don't get it. You might get lucky. How about this? You think that there's a need for notaries now? Yeah. You think there's a need for notaries that are certified to do the ones that are completely electronic? Yeah. There's money to be made there. How long does it take you to get your notary? Boom, I got it. That's really how long it takes. So these are all opportunities for you to create multiple streams of income. Yes, absolutely. When you're a notary, you want to let title companies know, our own title company, let them know, hey, listen, I'm a notary, because now remote is the way to go. Now understand something, it's not enough just to be a notary, okay? You have to understand the closing documents. So that is something that you have to either get training on or know, because you just can't sit at the table, open up the documents and say, okay, I need a signature here. Well, what am I signing to? I have no clue. It doesn't work that way. So for you all over here in Extreme, reach out to Denise via email and say, Denise, listen, if you're ever in need of some additional notaries and everything else, and then you do your own Google and say, what do I got to do that? I got to go ahead and get certified for the electronic part. No, you cannot close on your own files as a notary. that is, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because, you know, I do everything I can to keep you out of jail. So you got to meet me halfway. You cannot be a party to the transaction and be a notary. But look for ways that you can keep the money flowing and keep you in the game a little bit longer. Okay? All right. Now, yeah, the family, you know what? I don't know about the family. Let's say not family either. Um, I I um, I don't know. I don't know about that. So when I don't know, I don't know. That's a great question to ask Denise, and she could answer and say, hey, listen, am I allowed to be the notary if I'm related to that? Okay. Now, last but not least, feed the beast. Now, for those of you that have been with me for a while, you know what I mean by feeding the beast. Now, for those of you that are not with me right now, and we're going to change that, feeding the beast is how I refer to lead generation. That's how I refer to lead generation, because your pipeline is the most critical component to your short-term and long-term success in this business. What happens is the typical real estate agent works in spurts. Agents will say, well, my business is seasonal. Well, no, it's not. People buy and sell all the time. Your income is seasonal because you don't work it like a business. When you work this like a business, there's always new things being fed into your funnel. You have to keep your funnel full. Now, the next month, month and a half, 2 months, you're going to experience the most difficult of times, potentially feeding that funnel. But if you don't even try and you exit out the other side and you have absolutely nothing in your pipeline, you're dead. You're out of the business. So you have got to be feeding that funnel now. Lead generation is all about marketing and prospecting. Marketing is when you throw stuff out there and you aggressively wait for the phone to ring. Prospecting is when you pick up the phone and you call people. That's what you need to be spending your time on, because you're not spending money doing that, you're spending your time doing that. It's the folks that are going to continuously feed that funnel that are going to come out stronger on the other end. And that happens in any market you're in, not just the situation that we're in right now. Here's something that you have to keep in mind. Hey, listen, I like that home, but I'm not sure I want to buy it now. I'm not sure what's going to happen to prices and all these things. And I says, yeah, I understand. I don't have a crystal ball either. But let me ask you something. Alfredo, would you buy that house today at any price? And Alfredo would probably say, what, Alfredo?
I sure will. I'll take it
Okay,
for a lot cheaper.
okay, well, give me a number, right? And then you're going to say, well, why don't we do this? Let's try. Let's write it up and let's try. Now, let me tell you something. You all work your business your own way. I have seen 2 offers come through right now where the agent representing the buyer goes into this long-winded thing. Well, you know, the economy is over. The business is destroyed. Nobody is going to be able to afford anything, blah, 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 blah. And what I tell my agents is get ready, because people are going to play the pandemic card over and over and over again. And some of your own buyers may push you into that very uncomfortable position where they want you to play that card. Well, you know what? In both of those scenarios, we told the people, take a hike. You just insulted the people, you're gone. And warn them and say, listen, this is a ridiculous offer. I can word this more lightly, more pretty or whatever, but this is a ridiculous offer. All you're going to do right now is really piss them off, and you're probably going to lose them. But I'll do whatever you say. But I thought your intention was to get this home. Look, for everybody that tells you right now that the market, property values are going to tank, I can put someone that's going to say, oh no, we might see explosive growth. Why? Inflation. What happens to the cost of everything with inflation? It goes up. Oh, we're not going to have inflation. Are you kidding me? With all the money we're printing, we're not going to have inflation? You know, but at the end, are they buying it to flip or are they going to live their long term? Guys, I just bought some stock on Monday. It's a great time to buy stocks if you're buying for the long term. I didn't buy the stocks to flip. Between Monday, oh no, we bought it on Tuesday. From Tuesday to Thursday, it had gone up $1,000. Today, all that was gone. You know why? I don't care because I'm not looking at what it goes up today, tomorrow. I'm looking at the 52-week high and say when all this dust settles and people go back to normal, the fundamentals of that company are still there. If I can just get to half of their 52-week price, I make a significant profit. If someone's going to raise their family in that home and be there for several years, what do you care about the immediate fluctuations or not? And for everyone that tries to play the market one way, they get burned. People that want to play the market get burned. Now, are we seeing a shift? Without a doubt. This is the shift that they've been talking about. It is no longer a seller's market. That is done. Now is a time to ramp up your buyer marketing like you never did before because finally, across all price points, maybe not all, maybe you still put a single family home out there for $200,000 in Broward County, there's going to be 15 people on it. But you know what I mean. Now is a much better time to be a buyer because sellers are nervous. Sellers don't know what's going to happen. Sellers might be thinking, you know what, this might be the most I'll ever get for my property. I better sell it now. None of us have a crystal ball. All we can do is provide facts. We can share our opinions only, and they make their own. Do you still consider it fair to ask the seller for assistance? I think now, even more so, sellers are going to be more open to concessions. Keep in mind, a cocky seller before is a lot less cocky now. So again, when you ask for concessions, are you asking in concession and keeping the price to market? Or are you trying to come in $20,000 below market and asking for concessions? So it ultimately comes down to the seller's situation and the seller's motivation. Rosie writes in our chat, yes, my seller is giving $5,000 toward buyer closing costs. She wants out. There you go. So anybody with a listing right now, you got to have that heart to heart with your sellers and say, let's revisit your motivation. Let's revisit your situation. Do you need to sell? Yes. Okay, then be prepared. All right. So let's open this up now to some Q&A.